Action. Cool. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. My name is Mollahosseini. I'm the technical writer here at SpecFlow. And today with me, I've got Andreas Willich, our community manager. Andi, can you tell us what the webinar is about today?
Hi, everybody. So it's called SpecFlow 360 degrees from feature idea to living documentation. What we want to show today to you is really from the beginning. You have an idea, you want to have a new feature in your application until you have it in your living doc that you see how it is working and that it is working. The whole process and where you can use which of our tools. We will show SpecFlow plus living doc, we will show SpecFlow, we will show online Gherkin Editor, all that is helping you in your work to get from an idea to the final feature.
Awesome. Thanks, Andi. Just quick guidelines before we start. Please use the Q&A tool in Zoom for the questions. Don't ask questions in chat. It's just easier to in there.
There's somewhere a button down there for you.
Yep. When the questions are relevant to the topic we're discussing, we'll try to answer it at the moment. Any other questions will be answered at the end. We'll have a dedicated Q&A session. So we'll try our best to answer everyone. There will be 2 polls during the webinar. And as always, the webinar will be uploaded to our YouTube channel.
Will probably be published on Friday.
Yep, on Friday. Look out for it. Let's kick off with the first poll, Andi.
Yes. First question to you all is, we would like to see who is in the audience. So we would like to know what is your role in your team?
The testers and the developers are having a race.
Yeah, but I see we have a clear winner. Or not.
Yeah. Yeah, almost the same.
Almost. So we are already seeing the results, and I ended now and show it to you all these buttons. So a lot of testers and developers, but from every other role, we have also people here, and there will be stuff for everybody here.
Awesome. So SpecFlow 360, as Andi explained earlier, we want to take you all on a Bdd journey today. Bdd development journey usually consists of 4 phases: discovery, formulation, automation, and validation. To showcase this better, we've put together a sample application, which is a simple content submission page, and we plan to add a new feature to it. We'll be using .NET 5, MS SQL Server, Docker, TeamCity, and Jira today. We try to use a diverse set of tools here to show better how SpecFlow integrates with each of them. So let's kick off with the discovery. The discovery part, what is discovery, right, in Bdd? Let's take that out. First, discuss that. In context of Bdd, discovery refers to a structured collaborative practice for specifying software requirements with examples. Blah, blah, big words. Basically, it's a brainstorming session with a diverse group of perspectives, which is the most important part. Having the testers, the developers, and the business all sitting together and discussing it, which would result in less ambiguity in the future. So we had our sample application. Let's take a look at how that would work in our sample application. Yeah. So
wait, I'll you over too fast. We show also the other 3. There are other parts in the slides.
Oh, did I miss it? Sorry. Yeah, no. That was it.
No, this slide. We wanted to shoot. No, one before. Sorry.
Oh yes.
This one.
Yes. Sorry. Did I not read this page? I did. Yeah. So these are the tools we'll be using, and this is the sample application that we put together.
It's a simple form to submit some content. We're using .NET 5, ASP.NET Core with an Entity Framework Core. Backend is a SQL Server. All is glued together with Docker. As the ICT system, we're using today TeamCity, and also work item management tool. We're using Jira.
Awesome. Yeah.
So
that was fast-paced. Okay, so for discovery sessions, which is basically brainstorming as discussed before, at SpecFlow, we use Mural. There are a number of tools out there. This is just a giant whiteboard that you can put ideas on. You don't have to use Mural. You can use any tool. Or if you're miraculously sitting in an office today, you can use a whiteboard. So Andy, I looked at the community content submission page, and it looks pretty good. But I noticed it's missing a name field. So how should we go about that?
Good. Let's add a first name, last name field and put some validation there. Only text required, no spaces, and I don't know, 20 charts limit per field.
Okay, so those are the validations you're thinking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
the pretty standard ones.
What if we got these two guys trying to sign up for the SpecFlow community? We got Elon Musk's son and this gentleman from I think he's from Nigeria and he's an actor.
Okay.
I actually looked him up.
Okay.
What's going to happen then? And
yeah, okay, we need to adjust the validations and shortly for our viewers, we are now playing this. So Ali is the product owner, I'm the developer, and we playing this now, how a discovery session looked like. We start with the idea and then we start questions and try to answer.
Exactly.
Them.
The key part in discovery sessions is keep asking what if questions to get the most out of it. So I'm going to go ahead. I already asked him what if these two guys want to sign up, and we have to add the special characters. And what if someone, Andy, you mentioned that you want to have a first name and a last name field. What if someone doesn't have a first name or a last name? According to the internet, there are 1,500 people in America named just 7 as a first name.
Okay.
Or a last name. All right.
Good. Then let's do one field.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good to me. And lastly, you mentioned at the top that you want to have a 20 character limit on the name field
for our text boxes.
Yeah, but I've got a good friend from Germany, and that's his name. So we should accommodate him. I'm sure he wants to join SpecFlow.
Okay. Then let's skip the validation, the length validation also. Let's make one big text field.
One big text field.
It's only required.
Okay, cool. So what we tried to showcase here, guys, was how a discovery session would go. Obviously, we picked the most simple one, and it was just the developer, Andy here, and me as the product owner. But obviously, the discovery sessions would be a lot bigger. There would be more participants in it and with more content, but we try to keep it simple. It's a 1-hour webinar. The next phase after discovery is formulation in BDD. So what is formulation? Formulation is the practice of turning key examples from discovery into formalized documentation, such as Gherkin scenarios. Now, we've heard of Gherkin scenarios a lot for those of you who are experts in BDD. Andy, based on our discovery session, I had the time to write our first feature file, and I thought I'll run it past you and have your thoughts on it. It's called a name validation feature, and I've got 2 scenarios, which is user provides a name to be able to submit the entry, and then I've got the following submission entries, which are the existing fields. When the name John Smith, for example, is provided and the submission entry is submitted, there is a submission entry stored with the following data. And the second scenario is basically the opposite without entering the name. Your thoughts on it?
Good start. First, for our viewers, what you're seeing is, if you don't know, it's our online Gherkin Editor. It's a small tool that is at the moment primarily for quick sitting together, writing some scenarios, and don't need the whole IDE and everything up and running for that. We have also, there's syntax highlighting, some preliminary IntelliSense, formatting is also there, included for the scenarios. So quite useful little tool if you want to scribble some scenarios. And what we did here. And now back to this, how we could improve these scenarios. Ali, I think that the given steps, they're a little bit verbose. This is all data we have here that's not really needed for the scenario. We can move this all into the automation with some default values. We can make this quite shorter.
Okay. So you think the given steps are a bit redundant?
Yeah, we can reduce the given steps
okay.
to one line probably.
Magically moving ahead in time, I already have a second feature file. And this one, I simply changed the given step, which had all the fields. I just wrote given all fields except the name are filled out for both scenarios. Your thoughts on it now? Think it's better?
A lot of short and a lot of noise that is not necessary to understand the scenario. I like this. Mm-hmm. But I think we can improve it one step more. The 10 steps. Okay. They are checking the data. That's good. But it's again, there's a lot of. It doesn't fit to the scenario. We're checking if their data is in the database, but this is about validation. So
okay.
Perhaps we can reformulate this another way and also remove the whole table with the data. It's all unnecessary noise.
Cool. All right. So fast forward, Andy. I got rid of the then step, the table in the then step, and made it easier. Now it just says then the submitting of data is possible. Very simple. What do you think about it now?
Looks good. Looks good. I would say it's perfect that we can start to try to automate it.
Okay, awesome. Guys, what we're trying to showcase here is that your feature files, just like your discovery sessions, will evolve over time. You would start with something that has maybe too much in it. And the idea behind feature files is that they are easily understandable by non-technical people. So I don't need to put all of these entries here in these tables because the developer who's going to automate this obviously knows what fields exist already in the application. So as you can see, this evolved and we refactored it somehow and we got to this much simpler version. If you're struggling in writing good feature files, make sure you check out our blog series. This is actually written and updated by one of the best in BDD business, Gherkin Editor. And there are challenges here and a lot of content for you to just dig through and find what is relevant to your scenario. And just learn how to write good quality feature files. Andy, so we're both happy with this feature file. I'm just going to go ahead and download this. As Andy explained, this is our Gherkin Editor, quite handy. We'll put the link in the chat so you can check it out later on. So I've downloaded the feature file and moving over to Jira, because I'm an amazing product owner, I already have our backlog item written up. I've got my acceptance criteria, and all I'm going to do is just delete this from before. I'm going to go ahead and attach the feature file that we both agreed on. It was called name validation, and it's already assigned to you. And I think at this point is where Andy's magic comes in, and we move on to the next phase, which is automation.
Yes. So let's quickly share my screen. So yeah, third part already is third phase automation, and this is all automating the scenarios we wrote in the formulation. Before I show you that, how we do this, I'll show you a little bit more about the application, what we are having here. Where is my IDE? There is my IDE. I hope you can see this, can read this. So we are here in JetBrains Writer. We have here our solution. So we have our ASP.NET core application. We have our test project. What we're doing is we are having tests against the UI where we're using Selenium, and we have also tests against the API where we're using REST Sharp. Database, everything is connected. So the SQL Server and also the application for the testing and also for production is Docker container, and we manage this in this case with Docker Compose. A little bit how we're doing this. So we have some before test run hook that starts the whole Docker infrastructure up at the beginning, and after the test run also shuts down. So starts the application, starts SQL Server, and what we are doing for every scenario, and also after every scenario, we're resetting the database and make it empty so that we have with every scenario starts with a clean slate. yeah, so we're using for if you're interesting for Docker, we're using a library called Fluent Docker, quite nice to handle that, and yeah, need also some waiting that everything started up, that you can start testing, and yeah, but for resetting, we make a normal entity framework call, data context connect directly to the database and reset everything. This we have for the API stuff and also for the UI stuff. We're starting it the same way. Good. That's for the automation, the application we have existing. So let's try to automate our scenarios. So I'm here in Jira, and sorry if I pressed the wrong buttons. I'm not that used to Jira. So we have here our attachments from Ali. Let's get this. Okay, we have here our feature file, and now we can go into Writer. We say add SpecFlow feature file. That's this name validation. Create it, and we copy our scenarios here. Okay, and
Copies
that's where's the done? When you spare the download.
And while you're doing that, we have an audience. Kimia wants to know: is there a specific way of putting Jira together with SpecFlow? Which I guess she's referring to having the feature files in Living Doc, I would say, because that's the only way it would make sense, really. But we will get to that. We'll show you how you can connect that.
I wish I show now. Yeah, in the last phase in validation, I show you a feature what connects the feature files a little bit with Jira, and yeah,
we'll show you that, Kimia, in a few.
Working on something that we can't yet announce. Good. As we are on time limit, I already prepared stuff. So I prepared feature files. So give me a moment. The demo codes on, where is it? So no, that's the wrong one. There is the one already prepared everything. So we have now our feature file, and what we're seeing here with one of the two steps is that there are red squigglies. That's because there's no step definition yet, and we simply can say, okay, I pressed Alt and Enter to get this menu open. I say create step, select my class where I want to create a step, and we create the skeleton code for the binding. And now I can implement all the automation for this feature. And yeah, I also prepared this. All right, give me a moment. So, when we go now to the feature file, it should, the demo codes are not with me.
Yeah, so the red squiggly lines, these are all our IDE extension features for Visual Studio. This is also now available for Writer. Or actually, you're on Writer. So
yeah,
this is the new one. Yeah, I'm so used to Visual Studio. Yeah, this is now on Writer. So exciting. This is fairly new. We now have all the awesome features that we had over in Visual Studio. We brought them over to Writer. This is based on what you guys, the community, told us that is popular, and you want to have this in Writer. And yeah, it's built in. You can. The documentation is online as well. check it out is simply search for SpecFlow in the extension section of Rider, and you can download it quickly and have all the awesome features that Andy is showing here.
Yeah, and now after I checked out the write commit, the red squiggles are gone, and I can now navigate to it. And as you see, what we did in the formulation, we moved all the what we had in the table now simply in the automation layer to reduce noise. And yeah, let's build this quickly, and let's run the tests for it. I also added the stuff for the UI test. Not only this is only the API testing. Quickly for that, we are using REST sharp, and as we're having a simple REST API that's using HTTP and JSON, it's really having a POCO, plain old C# object with some properties that is sent via REST sharp to the REST endpoint, and we get some response. So we have our tests. Let's have here a name validation features. Let's quickly run them. This takes us some time until it starts, because we're starting all the whole Docker infrastructure. We can watch this in the Docker desktop application. We should, yeah, then we see already the two containers starting up, one for the database, one for the application. And it's okay, database is still starting up. You have to, database startup takes some time, web server startup, it takes some time. Now everything is finished. And now the tests begin to execute. And yeah, this one is red because we didn't implement anything yet, so no surprise.
Yeah. Andy, we have a community member that wants to know if all the functionalities that were in Visual Studio are also available for Rider, and is there anything that is fully not supported by Rider? I cannot think of anything right now.
Yes,
obviously the shortcuts would be
one thing that doesn't work in Rider at the moment is the SpecFlow Plus runner.
Okay, yes, good point.
That is not working in Rider, but this is how Rider is doing tests, unit tests, discovery and execution from the features of the IDE extensions. We have navigation, we have the skeleton code generation, we have item templates, we also have project templates.
Yep.
SpecFlow project here with the same parameter.
Yeah, and if you go to the drop down, you see the SpecFlow runner is missing there.
Yeah, and also MS Test is missing because Rider has a problem with MS Test in general. So we're there also a little bit limited, but that is it. One thing is, you see here we are using here XUnit, and there is some false errors here. This is valid code, but ReSharper and Rider is analyzing it wrong and showing a lot of threads quickly, but we have it on our backlog to fix this.
Awesome. So yeah, thanks for that, Andy. I would link the documentation, how to install the Rider plugin, and also the features that exist. And also we've created a step-by-step guide, just like the Visual Studio one, but for Rider, it will show you how to set up your template, your projects, all of that. But the only difference is that instead of runner, the SpecFlow runner, we're going to be using the guide takes you through by using the XUnit runner test framework. So I will link that in the chat so you can check it out as well. Thanks, Andy.
Good. Thank you. In the meantime, I implemented the whole feature and it's now there. So let's run this, build it again. And yeah, let's run this. So we make now a new test session here, and also for the UI test that we say something. popping up. So this is a nice thing of the test execution stuff in right of these sessions. And yeah, what I did is I added a field to the database, to the entity, implemented all the API controllers and added the required validation on it. So it is here in the application. We have our one project. Here, if you are a model, I added the name to it, and for our model for the API and the UI, we have this. Also on the model added with the required validation, and should see in a moment the Chrome popping up because the API tests are already submitted now, and we see Chrome starting. And you see there also the new name field, and it's working. Nice. So we automated now our scenarios, and this brings us now to the last phase, to the last 90 degrees, the validation. And validation is all about for us for Living Doc. Short reminder, once again, please use the Q&A tool for questions. It's hard for us to monitor the chat and to be sure that every question is answered there. So validation, everything is, it's about Living Doc, and the best way to generate your Living Doc is your CI/CD system. On every commit, on every pull request, merge, or release, what you have generated, you have to let the state. And yeah, we are using in our today TeamCity. So let's switch to our TeamCity project. Already showed so TeamCity, we have a build definition. It's not that complicated one. So where are the build steps? So we have 6 build steps here. We build the Docker images. We also build the project.
Andy, sorry, before you continue, Andy,
yeah.
You have the black box on the screen again.
I have the black box on the screen.
You don't see it, but we see it.
No.
Drag it out. Yeah, go on. Thanks, man.
Sorry for that. Build step. So Docker file, we build the solution, we run the tests for the UI, we run the tests for the specs, and the last 2 steps are generating the Living Doc also for API and for UI. And in this case, we're using the SpecFlow plus Living Doc generator, which is a simple command line interface, a command line tool, which is installed, and the call is like this: so feature folder where the feature files is. We say where the test execution JSON is to get test results, and then we have here some parameters to connect again the Living documentation back with Jira. I show it in a moment how this is then looking like in Living Doc. What they also did is TeamCity has an artifacts feature where it takes files from the build and associated it in its database. In this case, we take all the Living Doc HTML files and combination this feature, and there is a feature called report tabs. In TeamCity, you can add here new tabs where you show HTML files. And so you can show here directly in TeamCity your Living documentation. So this is the generated Living Doc before we implemented our feature, because this is not yet merged. In the branch. We have all the test execution results. So this is the UI version, and this is the one for APIs. And when you go then on the build, so this is our branch where we implemented the functionality. We also have here, we have not only have the test results, but we have also now here the Living Doc API, Living documentation for API and UI. Here we see the new feature. And here is the one, the stuff where we connect back to Jira at the moment. I took the liberty early and adjusted the feature file and added a tag.
Awesome.
And this is the ID in Jira.
Mm-hmm.
And with these special parameters beforehand in the command line call, we have now here links, and when I click on them, I'm opening again Jira now back to the same work item where I started.
Awesome. Andy, I know you showed this, but can you show again how you set this up? Because we get this quite often that people have a little bit of problem of, doing this linking, because it's an awesome feature. It really helps you, put all the information there, and somebody, if you use the Living Doc, can just by a click of a button, go to your, go to Jira or Asdo or any other system you're using really, and check out the back. Oh, there it is.
Important stuff is you start with using tags on your adding tags to your features or scenarios. And what this is, it's up to you. Isn't bound to Jira, it isn't bound to Azure DevOps or anything. It's completely customizable in Living Doc. So this tag has two parts. The first part is how we identify that's the important tag we're looking at. And then it's the ID. Every work item tracking tool has an ID, number one. And with that, this stuff we add two parameters to the Living Doc CLI. The work item URL template, which is how the URL should look like to get to the work item. So we have our Jira URL, then we have our ID, and the ID, only the number, so 1, 2, 3. And the second parameter is the important one, is to the work item prefix, and this says, okay, which tag is the tag that contains the work item prefix, the work item number then. And because with these two informations, we are then able to identify them in the feature files and display them in Living Doc as a link.
Thanks for that, Andy. I'll also link the documentation in chat in case you all guys want to check it out. So you can, this is a pretty cool feature, and thanks, Andy. Thanks for explaining. We got a question. I guess you can do this. Is this available on GitHub? Is it already available on GitHub? This repo?
This
example?
It's on GitHub. It's a little bit hidden at the moment, and we need to clean up the examples. I can share the link to it. It's in some branches in a repo where a lot of other examples are. So the end result is this one. I can share this with the chat. I'm planning to clean up our whole examples in the next weeks to make it more easable to. So
short answer, it is available. Maybe a bit messy because we just made it. But keep an eye on it. It will be pretty good in a week or two, I think, depending on this time. Andy, we got a couple of other questions here. Anonymous says, I like to use rules in my discovery and my feature files. Will Living Doc support this?
It will, somewhen. Rule keyword is not everywhere supported yet in our tool stack. Rider IDE supports it. SpecFlow supports it. Living Doc shows all the scenarios but don't show the rules, so it ignores this additional level of rules at the moment. It's on our backlog, and I think there is.
Is there a feature request from the community?
I need to look. It could be that there is a feature request. So what you're seeing here is our feature request forum. Where if you have feature requests, put it there. vote up existing ones. This is a number we are looking at for our backlog, and this is also was one reason why we made the Rider IDE extension, because a lot of people requested it.
Exactly. As you all know, our products are all free, and we develop things that the community really wants. So we really care about these feature requests. So the more you guys go in there and vote and put your use case, your workflow in there and explain to us why you need it and why it would be helpful. And if it gets really upvoted, just like the Rider plugin, we'll definitely start working on it.
So I found the feature request for the rule keeper.
Ah, there is one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there is one.
How many votes does it have?
0 at the moment.
0.
So...
Okay, well, I guess we got another vote from today. Make sure you vote on it. Another Living Doc question for you, Andy.
Yeah.
What is the .NET version that Living Doc supports? What .NET versions that Living Doc supports?
.NET versions. The Living Doc CLI itself is written in .NET Core, and I think it's one of the LTS. I think it's S3.1, .NET Core 3.1 LTS version. So I think you need the runtime for that. I think it's 3.1. I have to check. Or it's still 2.1. I have to check with the team. But that's it. Dependence that the CLI more is not needed. What is needed on the SpecFlow side is that you be able to get test results. Is you need where is it? You need the SpecFlow plus Living Doc plugin in your project. This generates this test execution JSON, and this plugin supports the same .NET versions as SpecFlow is supporting, and this is .NET framework starting with 4.6.1. 4.6.1. On .NET Core we support 2.1 and 3.1 and .NET 5. And the short version is we supporting that what Microsoft is currently supporting.
Cool. All right. Another Living Doc question from Rene. Is Living Doc supported in Jenkins?
Yes. So it's a command line tool. You can use it in any tool, CLI tool you want, as long as you can call a CLI to there, and that's most of the times.
Yeah. Cool. Is there any way to see the history of test executions in the Living Doc? For example, if I want to run my test 2 times and got different execution results, how can I see these results from different executions?
Not yet. There is a feature request for it.
Yeah.
Still has 0 votes, but a lot of discussions. Not at the moment. What you could do at the moment, within one file you can't see it. What you could do is that it's a single HTML file. You upload it to some web server or some space, and you save there your multiple files, and then you can and save the last 7 files, and then you can manually see how the stuff is changing over time.
Okay. We have another question around, can you couple the Living Doc results with Jira? I am not sure what the viewer means by this question.
No, not
possible.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay, this is a good one. We get this quite often. If you rerun failed test, will the test execution.json file be created a new one each time?
Which rerun? The rerun functionality of the SpecFlow Plus runner, or the rerun functionality of the VS Test task in Azure DevOps? Because that's a difference. So if the person could clarify this.
Yeah, Mark, if you can give us more clarification on that, that would be great. Can you publish Living Doc results to Confluence Wiki? The Living Doc results publishing, you can link to Jira, to your work item from LivingDoc, and yeah, having the results published to
So
Confluence.
the results, the test execution JSON is a file that is generated, and we see it as internal. So it's not a public API. So this file will change over time, and it will change in the future, in the near future. And this only contains the test execution data, nothing about the feature files or anything about that. To have it complete with every data, you need the generated HTML file, the single one. And I've used Confluence years ago, so no idea what's up to date. If it has an API that where you can, or some functionality where you can upload a file to, and it's then there, then it works, because LivingDoc generator is at the end, it's one HTML file, and you can do with that what you want. You can send it by email, you can send it by Slack, per Teams, upload it to a web server via FTP or some other tool. It's a single files, and that's why we created it, because there's so endless possibilities what people are using out there. If it has some upload functionality, you can use that and use the SpecFlow plus LivingDoc generator.
Okay. Andy, circling back to the question posed by Mark about rerunning tests, and he's saying rerun tests in Visual Studio, but I guess you wanted to know which runner.
Which in Visual Studio.
So if you rerun failed test.
Rerun failed, there's a button rerun failed test in the Test Explorer. This is a complete new run, and what you can do is in the LivingDoc plugin has some options. Where is it? You can configure in the SpecFlow JSON where the JSON file should be created. Default is only test execution JSON, but you can adjust this with some wildcards, process ID and thread ID. And as this is also needed for the SpecFlow Plus runner with process isolation, and the CLI tool can merge multiple JSON files together.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you have first the green stuff and then only run in Visual Studio the failed one and you merge them. Not sure of if you get the result that you want to achieve, that you get only because you have then two tests. You see two tests execution in LivingDoc, and you're showing always the failed one. So if also with the retry functionality from SpecFlow Plus Runner. So yeah, you see that this scenario was executed twice, the first time, and when you rerun the scenario, the failed scenario, but it will still be failed, because if it's failed, this is more prior. It's you're mixing data from two really different test runs, and I think it doesn't then do that what you want.
Okay, so I guess the question that somehow is relevant to this is: does this mean that LivingDoc always reflects the latest test run results?
Depends how you set it up. In the default way, yes,
default is yes,
but in the default there's no timestamps somewhere in all the file names, so it's test execution JSON and LivingDoc HTML. All of that is configurable, but in the default it overrides if there is an existing file, and only change that. And that's normally what you want from a living documentation. You want to see, okay, what is now working in my application and how it is working.
The latest version. Yeah. We have another, I guess, feature request from David. He wants to know for teams that are using other languages, for example, Python, with Bdd framework, can LivingDoc render feature files which it can in Azure DevOps? Are there any plans to allow results from non-SpecFlow frameworks to be displayed in LivingDoc?
Not that I'm aware of. So except test execution results, you can have every feature in Living Doc when you use, what was it? Python, Perl?
Python, yeah.
Python. But the test execution results is currently limited to SpecFlow and .NET. If you want to see that for other Cucumber implementations, please add a feature request.
Yep. Andy, let's wrap it up, and then I think we jumped into the Q&A session.
I was finished with my presentation.
Oh, were you? Okay. Let's ask a question from the audience now.
Yeah. So
it's time for that.
I hope we already asked so much questions. Now we want to ask you two questions.
It's our turn. I'll launch it, Andy.
Thank you. So two questions.
Yep. Would you be annoyed by occasional browser pop-ups with announcements and news about SpecFlow in your IDE? And what is the biggest frustration when working with SpecFlow? I'm going to launch this for you guys.
So a little bit context, for the first stuff here. Thinking about possibilities, how to make people more aware that there's a new version of SpecFlow available. There's some new product from us available. That's that. And the second version is, we would like to know what is frustrating at the moment for you that you can improve on that side.
Yeah, the browser pop-ups, we mean like when you open Visual Studio, you get this browser pop-up with the latest news for SpecFlow. This is really one of the best ways for us to, communicate with the new users and existing users, but we want to know how annoying it is.
Or what is acceptable.
Yeah. All right, so we've got to give people a bit more time. Do have a fair few other questions in here. Is there support for .NET 5? Yes, there is.
Yeah, .NET 5 is supported. .NET 5 48 hours after the release of the final packages.
Yeah, we were ready for it.
And we are already thinking and planning for .NET 6.
Yeah. Always thinking that. All right. Give it another minute.
Good. Let's have a look at other questions in the meantime.
Yeah.
Recording will go up on our YouTube channel. I have uploaded after the webinar until everything is processed by YouTube, and we provided all the descriptions, and so it's probably Friday morning. For that, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, and that you get notifications when the video is published.
All right, Andy. I don't see the poll moving anymore, so I'm going to end the poll now. Let's have a look at the results together. Share results. There we go. So know if it's once a month. That's good to hear. Okay, so 38% at no once a month. And biggest frustration when working with SpecFlow is others, which is, I guess, not great because we don't know what other is. So if you can tell us what this other is, it's very valuable for us. I'm glad that the stuff that we listed there is not frustrating you guys, but if you can get in touch with us, Andy, you want to share how they show us the community forum page and how people can get in touch with us and ask for support. Obviously, if something is frustrating you guys, it's very important for us to know about it. So head to our community forum page, head to our support page, and ask, and the team is there to answer your questions. All right, I'll stop sharing the results. So now you're officially in our Q&A session. I've got a fair few other ones here. I got an easy one. Richard wants to know, what's the Gherkin feature extension for automation called? I think it's SpecFlow.
We used in Rider, so we should be plugins, and there is it, SpecFlow for Rider.
That's it.
and it's in Visual Studio. It's SpecFlow for Visual Studio. So
Easy.
we go with the same naming.
All right. Where is the? Okay, this one is about the Gherkin editor, Andy, the one that we used during the formulation phase.
Yes.
So, what would be the recommended way of showing the living doc to non-technical members of the team? That's exactly our answer to that. So you don't want to put non-tech. Is that? Yeah.
It's show the living doc. What has it to do with the Gherkin editor? The Gherkin editor is about writing.
It was at the top. I'm reading another question. Yep. So yeah, so sharing the living doc to non-technical team. So what would be the best way, Andy?
It depends how your team works. You generate it in the CI/CD that you have it, and then you can send it out. I don't know if you have some weekly build. You send it out, edit there a task to send emails and send this attachment to the members. Or perhaps you're having a team wiki or Confluence or something like that, or simply or a OneDrive where you can share it and everybody in the team knows, okay, this is the file where the latest version is. You can look at, or you upload it to a web server that everybody has a URL in his favorites to look at. That's really depends how your team works. If you say us how your team works, we can make some recommendation. Best thing would be ask the question in the community forum. If you're monitoring this, so you should get timely answer for it. But this is again, that's the nice thing about the living doc generator. It's a simple HTML file. You can do what you need in your team. Here, I used some features from TeamCity, what made it quite easily to publish this. If you have Azure DevOps, use SpecFlow plus living doc for Azure DevOps, and this is completely integrated. And you get here a menu entry to show it. And to view
super easy for non-technical users. They just have to navigate there, click on it, and because you have this already set up in your pipeline, it will have the latest version always there. And you can also, select the branch and navigate through branch and go through different ones. Okay, so now back to the Gherkin editor. The one it was from the top. I was getting confused. One of the viewers wants to know, is saying that so the Gherkin editor should be an exclusive way of discovery and during the discovery and the formulation phase. And this somehow ties in with another question by Jordan that is there a plan to have a less technical way to update feature files for BA or PO, for example? So that's it. That's the answer to that. The Gherkin editor, a non-technical user, this is just a web page. There is not an ID. There is no code here. This is the best way to collaborate.
It's a beginning for the formulation phase. It's an experiment at the moment. We know that there is some need to quickly from a living documentation which you can read only to adjust the scenarios, fix a typo or something. The team is thinking about this, how to solve this, but I can't say any more about this.
If he tells you, then
we are in the discovery phase for this.
Yes, it's the brainstorming phase. Okay, so this is more of I guess like a methodology. Should PO team members follow and understand Gherkin, or is it just for testers and developers? I think that the PO team members should definitely understand.
That's the nice thing about Gherkin. It's there about 10 keywords, but you're writing natural language. You write English, German, or something. You have this few keywords then, but this is for combining them. At the end, it's natural language. So it also always depends how you formulate your scenarios. If you formulate in really technical scenarios, then they probably both don't understand, but this is not Gherkin. This is how you write your scenarios. And that's the idea behind this all, right? You create a shared understanding and have these concrete examples that everybody in the team and the customer, if you read this, knows, yes, this is the way how the application should behave on a concrete example.
Okay, thanks for that. Mark is having problem when he double clicks on the test explorer. It doesn't jump to the feature file. I think it should. That's
depends on the it depends on the runner, and so I think the team is we know that this is depends on the runner. I think any unit is working, and it's quite complicated what we can do, what is in Rider, what we can enhance to make this better. I have to check with the team what our state is there.
Okay, thanks for raising that. I've got an anonymous viewer wants to know, how can I use my domain account instead of my personal Microsoft account to get into SpecFlow Runner or Living Doc? So we do know how we have some slight issues with domain accounts.
Depending on how the admins configure this your Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, it's working or not. We support, so generally you can use a corporate Microsoft account and your personal account. But there are some cases where a corporate account isn't possible, but this is because how your IT admins configured your Azure DevOps and didn't approve stuff. If they didn't approve, you get some request pop up to the admins to request that they approve the application. If you get other error messages, please let our support know. And yeah, you need for our support tool a SpecFlow account, but at the bottom there is an email address to contact us if you have problems creating an account.
Cool. Yes, to answer one of our viewers, SpecFlow is free. It's an open source project. It's free. If you guys don't know, we are part of a parent company called Tricentis, which has a number of testing tools, and SpecFlow is one of them. If you guys are curious to know what the parent company of SpecFlow is, it's Tricentis. I've got 5 questions here from a viewer. How can I edit Living Doc? I think I will link that in the chat, how you can read some documentation about it. How can I do UI testing? This is an interesting one with SpecFlow. We recently, actually, Andi and I put together a Selenium documentation where we use SpecFlow and Selenium to do a UI automation. And it's actually linked in our getting started guide on the page. Andi, if you can show that. Yep. This is fairly new, but it's pretty cool. We took, again, a very simple application and we showed how you can use SpecFlow with it.
One thing further. So this is UI automation with Selenium, because you mentioned image comparison. If you have a tool for that does the image comparison, and it has a API that you call from .NET, you can use it. SpecFlow limits you not in anything what you can then automate. You can use everything. You can use ApplyTools, .NET API to make this image comparison and so on, or send it somewhere else. There are some services out there, or use some local libraries. There is no limitations. If you want a special topic or a special example, also write it in the community forum. We are collecting always these content ideas, and like this is the start with Selenium and page object model, what Ali and I did, but we know we are lacking there are a lot of examples and documentations, and we want to improve this in the future. And for that, it would be cool if you know what is interesting for you, that we make the interesting stuff first and not the boring stuff.
Thanks, Zach. Okay. Yeah, one parallel execution question. Any plans to support advanced parallelization of test execution? We have some tests which can be executed in parallel, but some tests should be executed sequentially. Is it possible to mark some of these tests somehow to run them in parallel? Currently, it's only possible for all tests.
Depends on your runner. In the SpecFlow Plus runner, we have a feature that you can pin stuff to a single thread. So you can as a profile, you can have test threads. Instead, the first thread is all the scenarios that are for the in that case for the target Firefox will be executed on this one thread. This is normal filtering from the runner, so you can filter there what you like. So you can create a tag that is called sequential, and every scenario that is tagged then and with this test thread here and sequentials is only executed on the one thread. For XUnit, NUnit, and MS Test, at the end, so we integrate into these tools, and we can only provide that what these tools are providing. So there we are limited on that case. If they have some functionality to do this advanced parallelization stuff, you should be able to do it in SpecFlow with more or less work, depends on how this is, what you need to do. But that's it.
All right. Andy, we're already 5 minutes over. I guess we take one more question.
Yeah, we can answer them.
Yeah, okay. This is a good one. Do you have private sessions for big companies? Yes, we do have dedicated face-to-face onboarding sessions. Just reach out to us, and someone like Andy will probably do the onboarding for you guys. Yeah, we do. And just reach out. You will find the information on our website. What
we also have is once a month we have every month once the onboarding webinar that's open for everybody.
Yeah, we do run regular onboarding webinars as well. Is it possible to generate some report in Excel or Word, like test summary report or traceability report using SpecFlow? If yes, can you guide me on how to? Okay.
Excel or Word and traceability report. There are some other reporting tools out there. Pickles, Extend Report, what else? And Allure. Where you also can make reports, but they are not from us, and perhaps this is possible with them. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. Okay. Is there any documentation to run tests on a CI/CD either from Git or from TFS?
Let me quickly check. So generally, SpecFlow scenarios are not differently than any other unit tests you have, and like you're executing SpecFlow scenarios. At the end, this is filtering in a build pipeline. I think, okay, it's you have some things, but this is limited. Yeah, one case where we still need to extend our documentation. But at the end, it's there are two command line tools in the .NET world to execute tests. This .NET test, that's from .NET Core and .NET 5. And then there is the VS Test console exe for full framework and also full framework, so .NET framework projects, and also can also execute .NET Core and .NET 5. These are the two command line tools at the end that's running everywhere to execute the tests, and you use them as for NUnit, XUnit, MS test, unit test for SpecFlow tests.
Cool. Thanks, Andy. Last question. We have to test different versions of code as they move through development, QA, production. How is the best way to make changes to tests for new code while keeping regular execution of the production environment for availability monitoring?
Okay, very specific question.
Yeah.
Liam, I think the best way would be to discuss this in the forum.
Yeah. I think it's a bit too
would need
specific.
some input for this.
Okay, got one last one, I think. Can we attach image object evidence against each step using Living Doc report?
Not yet. Not yet.
Pushing us.
The team is working on this.
Yes.
So we have our public roadmap here, and you see this. It's currently in progress. How we that you get additional output in Living Doc. So we're working currently on images, attachments, and text output that it's visible in Living Doc.
Cool.
And yeah, have found a solution. I'm sure there will be a webinar where we show these features. So
yes, for sure.
Stay tuned. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our newsletter that you get in invitation for this webinar.
Cool.
One question. I think I saw this. So how Living Doc is different from SpecFlow plus Runner? Living Doc works first for every runner, so you don't have to switch to SpecFlow plus Runner to get this nice report. And the SpecFlow plus Runner, yeah, you were able to customize the report that generated, but this added complexity, and this was very complex to adjust this generation. And so this is not available in Living Doc, so we have only this one layout, which makes it easier for everybody, I think. It's the next, it's V2 of the Runner reports. Looks better, we'll get more features in the future. That's the Living Doc is the future for reporting in the SpecFlow world. Let's say it that way.
Cool. All right. I think we cleared
Good.
the board. That's our YouTube channel, our SpecFlow page, community forum page. Check it out.
Yeah.
You can ask questions.
If you have, okay, I forgot to ask these questions in an hour. Put it in the community forum. I will answer them tomorrow. For us, it's already late. It's after 5 p.m. here.
Yeah, it's 12 minutes past. I see some participants already dropped off. For those of you that stayed around, thank you so much for your time. I hope this was useful. We will have this, as mentioned many times, online by Friday, and we hope to see you in the next webinar.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. Stay safe and see you in the next webinar.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.